Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to our Analyst Day. I'm glad you found the way to this picturesque place in Horgen. And of course, I hope you look to our slides and not to the landscape outside. So I'm very glad we can give you an update to our company. What is the way forward? What are we really achieving with technology in our markets? I like to say, of course, our presentation is available also on our website under Investor Relations, the reporting center, and then you must go to presentations. Good. So I have a question to start with. Have you ever taken a shared e-scooter? Perhaps you made it with a shared bike to this place or a shared car. So this is science and a question that tells us several things are changing in this world. There are new forms of mobility, and this is a theme we like to walk through during this presentation. So we will look into our business, what is wireless. Then later, my colleague Andreas Thiel, he will look into technology and what is the way forward. Then after the break, we have our new colleague Markus Schäfer, Head of Global Marketing and Sales. We'll talk about go-to-market, what is our strategy here to reach all the customers on a global base. Then later, after some views to our operations, Roland Jud, our CFO, will talk of some views on how we reflect our strategy in numbers. And finally, of course, we talk outlook and guidance. And here I have a shortcut. Our guidance for this year is unchanged. You will see this then in the presentation. We make all our presentation with the usual disclaimer about any remarks and views to the future. So let's look into what is making us driving to growth and how we can accomplish this. We have mentioned before, we talk of some mega trends in this world, and there are around. For us, it means the world becomes connected. It will have more and more devices that are connected to the cloud. That is, of course, the point. You collect data in the cloud, and data is becoming an element of business. It is like a currency. And most industries, and of course, finally the consumer, they use such data to good benefit. So we distinguish for our business the connected vehicle, the connected industry, the connected city, you can also say the connected infrastructure, and of course the consumer himself. And insofar there is the initial question is leading to what is a nice example. The example is this electric kick scooter that is becoming a new form of mobility. We can call it micro-mobility. And such a device needs wireless connectivity. Without such technology, it would not make it the business. It would not allow to make it a sustainable business, because you have to operate it. It's a fleet of things that are in the hands of some users, and you need to keep control. Finally, the system integrator wants to make money into the pocket, and therefore it needs all sorts of system elements to make this happening. And wireless technology is making this thing connected. It is helping to not lose control, because we know where it is. We have the positioning information thanks to the global navigation satellite system. We have contact with the device via the cellular network. And of course, the individual consumer has connection to the device, to the scooter via the smartphone. And for that also, we need a short-range wireless connectivity. So all is here to make this a business that can really work, that is sustainable, and is precisely what our company does. This is the technology we make to help such an idea become a business, and of course it is changing also the way finally we can walk and drive in this world. So the future is that we are innovating constantly, and this is what has helped to make then such an example a real-life application. We have done that for more than 20 years to make wireless technology available to such customers. And basically, we have the knowledge for this, and it's a deep knowledge for making a wireless connectivity. A wireless activities are electromagnetic signals that we send through the air. And for this, we need a radio that can make such signals and waves. And we need signal processors. Signal processors, they handle the digital signals that are sitting on these waves and are finally what the ingredient, so to say, of the information that we are transporting. And all that must become, of course, a high-performing system that is very robust, that works under all types of circumstances, and of course must be also cost-effective. So this knowledge is the heart of what u-blox does. This is how we then make it into something tangible and finally convert it into a business with our customers that is defining our position in the market. So we have done that over more than 20 years to develop our actual strategic lineup with products that we combine today 3 wireless technologies that are the cellular, which is the wide range solution to connect, then the short range to, as the name says, to make it on the short distance, and of course the positioning to know where is information coming from. These together is what is the solution to most of our customers to make such connected devices, as the e-scooter is a nice example of. And because we have a role here to make solid technology, we have this deep knowledge how to do it. We cast that into integrated circuits. These are, of course, the major element of condensing, so to say, the technology into something tangible, and something tangible that is highly cost-effective. But the final way to the market is then the module. The module incorporates our integrated circuit and is the easy offer to our customers. A module is a sub-assembly that is completely functional, that is tested, that is certified, and you basically just connect power and antenna, and the wireless connectivity is in the product. So thanks to modules, we have the wide access to the market. This is why we have many thousands of customers. And with just the integrated circuit or just with the knowledge, you cannot go to the market. This is too complex. This is two-piece work. We need something that is as close to our customers as possible. And for making all our offer even better, we have data services that add on to the product that help to make them better perform, to become managed over the lifetime, and also to make them secure, to help to make the connectivity sustainable and controlled over the lifetime of the product. So all that together is what we deliver to our customers, and this lineup is absolutely unique in the industry. We have no competitor that can do the same than we do. We talk about that a little later. But this uniqueness is, of course, the attraction to our customer. We give them really a package into their hands that solves a major problem. The problem is, how can I connect my device to the internet? So we are a partner to our customer. We help to simplify the whole integration. And of course, we deliver something that is clearly specified, that then in the whole row of making it to a product has a certain function and delivers a value at the instance of making the product to the final solution. And we have here a very clear also definition how far we have to go, what precisely is the interface to the customer, what do we hand over, and especially it is not only the hardware that must reflect that, it's also the software content in the product that must do well connect, because finally you want to have a connectivity to the cloud. You must support via all the software features that this is happening easily and reliably. We are in two markets. Mainly, we are in industrial and automotive applications. And over the time, as you can see here, we have solidified this towards more and more stronger position in automotive and have reduced the business with consumer customers. This is a strategic choice to focus mainly on markets where we have certain requirements with regard to what we have to play as a supplier and with regard to what are the expectations of our customers. Of course, the industrial and automotive market are quite similar with regard to such expectations, mainly for product features and quality and lifetime. And we have today our consumer focus relatively reduced to more an opportunistic way to the market, mainly to high-level consumer goods, where then these differences are again much smaller to what we do as the main business. And I'd like to talk a little more what is now happening in these two markets, industrial and automotive, and what drives us forward. This is essential for what is finally also a vision to the future. First of all, in the automotive space, we are seeing an increase of electronics content in the car. This is quite strongly expanding for several reasons. We can expect that the car has in the near future about 30% in the bill of material being electronic components and systems. And this has all to do on the one side with more automation, with more comfort in the car, but also with the aim for making cars more electric. So we participate in expansion because there is the internet connectivity brought into the car, into the interior. There is a Wi-Fi hotspot, for example, in the car, or you replicate the smartphone content in the dashboard, or you want to have infotainment on all seats. Then, of course, the vehicle is connected to the cloud. This means you need a wide area connectivity with a cellular modem. And such connectivity is necessary because the car has more and more driver assistance built in. There is maintenance happening in the background of this car. And you can also get concierge and support services that, of course, need such a connectivity. Then there is an additional and separate connectivity for what is a vehicle to everything, or vehicle to vehicle, or V2X connectivity. This is to tell the other cars what is the intent and what have other cars to expect from the neighboring cars, and is all about increasing driving safety, and also to a certain extent helps to automate the driving of the car. And finally, the oldest function is navigation in the car. Here, wireless technology is around for 20 or 30 years. But of course, the knowing where is the car, where is the vehicle, is when we go for automation a much more difficult task, because this position information must be much more precise, a lot more reliable, and finally, it's an element of safety. And the recent announcement of the new Golf of Volkswagen is precisely an example how the industry is making progress. This car is announced as the most digital Golf ever, as you can see in this picture, and indeed incorporates probably most of the wireless technologies we are talking of, including the car-to-car connectivity. So this is in this regard, clearly the reason for growth for our wireless technology in the automotive space. It is not the number of cars that are driving us here, because this number is not going to change dramatically in the next several years. It's always about roughly the same output of around 100 million cars globally. But it is the extension of the value. So we have access to a lot more dollars in each car than we ever had. It was in the past below $10. Now it's probably 100 and more in the next future. And why is this so? You see here on the next slide. It is because many functionalities and applications are needing wireless technology. So we have spoken about the smartphone that replicates content to the dashboard. We have rear seat entertainment that is somehow connected to a system, and again, wirelessly. We have electric cars that need charging and must connect to the charge station to exchange data about how to charge the car and manage all the power and energy that is flowing. Or we have keyless entry that probably many know of you. This is also based on wireless technology, Bluetooth or others. So this is all about to mainly increase comfort, but of course also we have examples to enhance the driver assistance. We mentioned the connectivity in the cellular network. That is normally a very broadband connectivity because lots of data are exchanged. The car can even also serve as a data collector for then feeding back into the systems and to aggregate data, for example, about what is the situation on the road or what is a road looking like. Then we have, as mentioned, the in-car navigation as the very prime system here to support the driver. We have car-to-car communication for enhancing safety, and in the domain of automated driving, electronics become even a new class of system. It is what is called a functional safe system because you need to make it failing safe. There can never be an error in such a system. This is quite a challenge to the automotive industry to make such a step into this new class of controls. So these are all the reasons why value is increasing for us, why more is in the car, why we can participate in such many applications. And of course, it goes gradually. It is not happening overnight. It is over many, many suppliers, over many, many car OEMs, and of course also on the regional basis between the Americas, Europe, and APAC, all going on with different intensities. So it's a very broad access to such expansion that is available to us and where we are fully participating with what we do. Now, in the industrial space, the picture is different. Here it is more and mainly about more and more devices become connected. The industrial field has an enormous number of units on the world. The whole industrial infrastructure is huge. This is billions and billions of devices that are around. Mostly they are today isolated or self-contained or are in a closed loop operating. They are not connected to the cloud yet. This is only coming up, and the industry is realizing that such connectivity can enhance the performance of the products, can deliver better values to the user, and often also make new solutions available. So here we have growth in this market because this number of units that become connected is increasingly rapidly, and the potential that is here is enormous. It's far away, very, very far away from any saturation, and only now we see many new customers coming up that have never been a customer for wireless technology that start to look into how can we make things connected. And of course, in the industrial field, it's often that you have many devices, that you have high density, for example, for sensors, and that here we need wireless connectivity that does also support the capillarity of how these things are arranged. And of course, often have not so much value available to make it connected. So insofar our outlook for value growth is, again, it's not the value per device. This is probably $5 to $10 that is available to make a thing connected, but it's the sheer number of units that is driving the expansion here. And to illustrate what this all can mean, here are a few examples. For example, power tools, they become connected to make them better used and managed, also to support quality. For example, you can measure the torque when you tighten a screw and feed back to the system whether then the assembly work was done correctly. Solar panels need connectivity because you must constantly monitor them for optimum power generation, and this again needs connectivity to all the panels that are in an array. And of course, in the transportation area, this is a classical application, but still expanding, that you want to track all the shipments in whatever form. And here, all our technologies are employed to make this happening. So this is more about enhancing things that we know. And of course, there are also many new solutions in the industrial field that are coming up because technology makes it available, because especially wireless technology makes that feasible and can support a business model. You all know the lawnmowers that have become autonomous, and the latest versions are very easy to put on ground because they do not need an additional infrastructure. We have seen the e-scooter and kick scooter example that is only feasible because we have such technology at work. And another prominent example from the recent years is the drones that are today more and more no longer just toys or just flying cameras, but they are becoming industrial tools and need a lot of technology to make that an efficient and reliable tool to use. Now, what makes us here competitive? Why are we leaders in helping the industry to make things connected? I think it's all about what we are as a company. It goes back to when we were founded more than 20 years ago, that we still run with a very good innovative spirit, that we see how interesting this is to bring wireless technology to work. It is, of course, also a subject that is not easy, but this is very nice for brilliant people to work on such questions and finally make it to something that has a very good functionality. And thanks to the fact that we still have founders in our company, I think we can really preserve also this sort of startup spirit and drive us forward in a way that we are lean and agile, that we are pragmatic, and look for being always a little quicker than competition and bring out a next idea in a very solid way. And by that gain new steps into markets and into new applications that before were even not visible. And of course, we are really well positioned with all we do. I mentioned our lineup, and when we now look at how competitors are around us, here is a list of the major ones. The names you will not see in all the 6 boxes, but only in a few, because most companies focus only on a part of this market, or sometimes for different reasons also in this market segment. But we have not one competitor that can meet us here in all we do. Mostly at the integrated circuits level, these are the large semiconductor companies. Some of them have the total range of offer, like Qualcomm, but most of them only cover one or the other technology. And at the level of modules, here it is completely fragmented between many players. Some have a certain size, mainly for cellular. Others are mostly small and cover only a part of the market, mainly geographical part of the market. And for data services, here we are mostly unique. We are unique because our data services belong to our products. They are not insofar agnostic and available at the broad scale. So we have built this position. We have not made it overnight. We have worked over 2 decades to build here what we have today and have still a lot to do. We have not reached the end of the flagpole, so to say. We are continuing to expand our product range to make it complete, to offer solutions to our customers that they need, maintain product roadmaps, and invest heavily into next generations of products, but also adjacent solutions to what we already have. And what we deliver, you see here, these are our launches in 2019 so far. We have made extreme good progress in this year. We have brought out for cellular a complete new platform, what we call R5, to cover cellular connectivity with category M. This category M is one of the definitions of how you transport data in the cellular networks and is specifically made for machine-to-machine type communication. This is a most important solution to our industrial customers. In the short-range radio field, we have brought out a new module called B4. This is the latest solution for Bluetooth with low energy, so very good for battery operation. And it's a very robust solution, again, for industrial, but also some automotive customers. In positioning, we have launched ninth generation of products, already started last year. We have cast them into new modules, and new modules means also additional functionality. This module you see here is made for car applications to know relatively precisely where is the car. We call that lane accurate. And this helps the applications for car-to-car communication so that you have enough precision and reliability in telling the other car, where are you? And with the chipset M9, we have made it to next generation for what we call standard precision solutions. This is our mass market. This is, of course, important for volume and for the reach broadly into many, many, many customers. And finally, on the services side, we do many services for our customers. We talk about that a little later. But one example is that we help to script software for our customers. This means much more quickly the solution is ready, and it's all about how you bring data into the cloud, how you build up the connectivity, and of course it is not only just making it, you have also to make sure you keep control over the connectivity, and this is a larger part of such software to help customers to make it in this way. Now back to our scooter. When we say this is a nice new application, how is the prediction here and what is the market environment? It's a very typical case of a new application that has become available thanks to technology and especially wireless technology. It has started in 2018 with some numbers and has well progressed into this year. And when we look forward, according to analysts, then this volume is strongly increasing. You see here two numbers. One is the traditional scooter, that means where you sit on a bike, and is mainly to exchange the gasoline engine with an electric drive. And then there is also the stand-up scooter, which is also called the kick scooter, where a strong volume increase is predicted. But I think this statistic is still underestimating the volume. When you see alone how many scooters are in Asia, for example in Vietnam or even Taiwan, and how many people are dependent on such a vehicle, then this number is much too low. These markets will go to electric bikes, and as it happened, by the way, already in China. So I think also the traditional scooters are expanding a lot more than what these numbers predict here. Anyhow, such developments are the food for growth, and it is happening because it requires sophisticated and robust wireless technology. We have brought out with our recent announcements precisely the products to make this happening. It is amazing how much technology is packaged into such a card. And we are here well positioned because this is a module business. Modules are the solution for these customers. They will not use a chipset. They cannot do it. It's too complex, too far away. They have a different problem to solve. They make a vehicle. They have many other aspects of finally making the product. So they are dependent on us that we give them something to their hands that is ready-made, that they can quickly integrate. And of course, it is really about a service that must work, and insofar we have to help them to make it robust. This means the service cannot be compromised, that it is security in the system, and they never lose control over their assets. And finally, more technology can go into here. We are not at the end. We can think of making such devices even autonomous. And with that, I hand over to my colleague Andreas Thiel. He will look more into what technology is all about and how we make it to products.
Yes, good morning and very warm welcome also from my side. My name is Andreas Thiel. I'm responsible for developing and bringing out these products and defining the roadmap. So what does it take and what do we do in u-blox to create that portfolio of products? We have already heard a lot of technologies are involved. We talk about cellular connectivity that enables the wide area connection, so we get connected to devices wherever we have a cellular network driven by operators. This covers basically all the population in the world. Very important if things are moving and you don't know where they would go. So this is the technology to reach products wherever they are on the globe. Then short range is, as the name says, more a technology for the close environment, so more like hundreds meters away. But the advantage of this technology is it can deal with many devices and can so ensure that we access very big deployments also in an efficient manner. Last but not least, and this is the root of our company, positioning technology is needed everywhere where we want to know where our devices are, indoor as well as outdoor. Then Thomas has already mentioned it, a lot of our products can work together and form then solutions. And by defining our products in a way that our customers can integrate them easily, we can help them to do such things like the scooter we have seen before, and so have an easy integration. We use the services to make our products better, so to add functionality on top of the hardware. And so all in all, if we look at a total customer solution, it can very well be that round about 70% of the bill of material of a finished product may come from u-blox. So that's an exciting opportunity for us to bring more value to the customer, but also create more business for us, even if the number of customers and applications is not growing in itself, but we can get more content. I think the car was a very good example where we see a steadily growing content of electronics. Our wireless technologies are unique in a sense that we address really the markets that we are focusing on. Thomas mentioned already we are very much focused on automotive and industrial. We once coined the term the Internet of Things that really matter. So we are primarily interested in businesses and applications where high value is being managed. This needs a long-term attitude from our end. Many of the applications of our customers have a very long lifetime. You may think of smart metering, where we have 10 years, 15 years of service for such a product. Looking at the average lifetime of our products in customer applications, we found out it's around about 9 years. So it's not a smartphone that you drop the next year and buy the new model, but it's rather something that is very thoroughly installed and then has to be kept alive over a lifetime. So there is for sure a maintenance component also in this business. Our competencies is the design competency in the electronics environment. Of course, also very high software content in our products. Roughly about 70% of the efforts that go in R&D are software efforts. The other 30% is more on the silicon and module side. Our core intellectual property can be reused. So over the 20 years we have been working, we have created a lot of components on the signal processing side, on the RF side, and it's now very nice to see how we can reuse those components. We have similar components, for example, for V2X products as we have in the cellular domain. We can combine also positioning technology into cellular modems and so on. So we have really a very big, I would say, sandbox that we can play with, and that helps us to be more efficient in creating new products. The value-adding services that we offer, they are also unique, and we can be better than competition here because we have this deep access into our end products into the silicon, so we have access to data and access to information and can create better services than anyone could who has not the ownership of the core IP. And this helps us, I mentioned the maintenance component, this really helps us to bring value to the customer also later in the product life cycle, not only at the time of purchase, but also later in the life when it is more about maintenance. So finally, many elements define what goes in the final solution, and there are a lot of components that u-blox brings to the table. I don't want to go into this fine print here, but just to mention the very broad product portfolio. So we have modules and chipsets. We can support customers at various integration levels. We have that whole portfolio from Bluetooth positioning, Wi-Fi to cellular connectivity. So all the wireless technologies that customers may want to integrate in the product. We have software components, service components that enhance the features. We have a very strong development support to help our customers avoiding mistakes, bringing their product quickly to the market. We offer the products, especially in the cellular domain, but also in the other product centers with a pre-certification that helps our customers getting their products approved. As we have wireless transmitting devices, they are all subject to regulatory approval and also in parts of the world, operator approval, especially when it comes to cellular networks. Quality and reliability has been a stronghold of our company since ever. So especially for industrial and automotive markets, it's obvious that these aspects are very important, and with our Swiss roots, we have here a very good position. Last but not least, manufacturing excellence, being able to support the customer in his supply chain, being able to respond to fast changes in demand is a strong aspect of our business. We are a fabless company, as you may recall, and with our manufacturing partners, we are available to react to the dynamics of this very dynamic market. I have now just 2 slides on each of the product areas to give a little bit an overview where we stand today, what's going on, what are the industry trends. I start with the cellular part. Here we have really in the upper red curve, you see what is happening on the mobile phone market. We have the evolution on the very right-hand side. We enter the 5G area. We will have in Switzerland, I think is one of the leading countries in the world in this aspect. We will have full coverage of 5G by the end of this year from 2 network operators. I think that's pretty unique in the market. Even Korea and Japan are not at this level as it seems. So very good place to be right now in Switzerland, but this is the high-end connectivity that goes in the cars and also in the mobile phones. We have seen a couple of years ago, industry recognized the need to have a connectivity solution more for the machine type communication, for the Internet of Things, and this created this branch of here in this area where then lower categories were brought to life. It started with Cat 1 and then was going further down the road, Cat M1 and so on. And Thomas already mentioned the announcement of the SARA R5 product, which is precisely a product that works on this standard and is the workhorse technology for the industrial Internet of Things for the years to come. We do not expect here, and from the standardization body as well, we don't really see a hard push for new technology here. So probably the move towards 5G will be a bit later than what we see on the smartphone and automotive side. Yet, of course, this is the area what we are looking at. So how does this translate into the 5G area? On the other hand, what we see right now, also the situation is simplifying. We are leaving now the age of the multimode technologies where we really had a combination of 2G, 3G legacy technologies with the upcoming LTE standard. Around the globe, we see that LTE only becomes now a viable technology because we really have coverage with LTE networks. So what do the cellular technologies deliver? On the legacy side, I think that was 2G and 3G. It's low to medium data rate Of course, the legacy networks, as they came from the mobile phone application, they also support the voice communication. Then with the new low power wide area technologies, LTE Cat-M and narrowband IoT, we again are basically continuing on these low data rates, but we bring also deeper penetration into buildings, broader coverage, and which is very important for battery powered devices, we also bring a much lower power consumption than what was available with 2G and 3G before. Cat1 is, so to say, a little bit the larger version of these LPWA technologies. The main thing that it brings here is with about up to 10 megabit per second data rates, you really have the ability to stream audio and video, important for a lot of applications, but still completely focused on this Internet of Things area. And then with the high categories that move now from LTE to 5G, we have the highest data rates. We have really HD TV transmission available on these ones, a lot of infotainment applications, virtual reality, and so on. So this is supported by these high categories. Not so much a topic in the industrial Internet of Things, but still very important, as you can imagine, for automotive connectivity. Short range, similar story here. We also see a kind of a split into various performance levels, from very high throughput for entertainment applications, for video streaming, for virtual reality, down to areas with very long range. So we speak of kilometers here at very low power levels, coin battery cells. So a lot of applications that open up. In the middle here somewhere, situations, the V2X technology that is also part of the 802.11 standards family, so which is somehow mid-range on the performance level, but very specific because it also comes with the safety component that Thomas already mentioned when cars communicate to other cars or to infrastructure on the road. We are working in a lot of areas here. What we deliver finally is basically at the low end when it comes to low power Bluetooth connectivity. This is typically a sensor connection, a temperature sensor, a heart rate meter, glucose meters, a lot of e-health applications in this area, but also just temperature monitoring, smart buildings, and so on. Another interesting aspect of this technology is that we see more and more positioning capabilities here, especially being added to Bluetooth and Wi-Fi standards. This makes it interesting to realize seamless indoor-outdoor positioning. So outdoor we have GNSS, indoor we can work with Wi-Fi or Bluetooth. Then the middle ground, so to say, is gateways that bring us from the capillary networks where we just talk to single sensors to bundling this information. So we go from Bluetooth to Wi-Fi or to cellular. Then the V2X, I mentioned already, reliable data transmission for enhanced vehicle safety. The Golf is a very good example. It's the first car and it's the first car maker who decided unilaterally to deploy this. So all the new Golfs will have this technology on board, no matter what standardization says and no matter what the competition does. It seems in Europe, at least, the trend goes in this direction that this technology will be deployed also by other car makers. As we already have heard, around the world there are different regions and they have different speeds in adaptation of these technologies. Last but not least, also on these short-range technologies, we see more and more networking protocols. So we have mesh devices where we can roll out networks that cover larger areas without the need to put base stations into the field. And we have also longer range technologies, as I said already, in the kilometer range, which enable us to cover larger areas. Positioning, I think we presented a similar slide already last year. When we started u-blox 20 years ago, we thought, yes, we have to once master the GPS receiver and then we are more or less done, and we could not really imagine what would come for the next 20 years. But looking back, of course, every 5 years there came a new element to the table, and so we could keep on constantly innovating here. And the very good thing about GNSS is you can always innovate to be better than competition. It's not like any other technologies where a standard very much defines what you have to do. And you have much more freedom here. So what we saw in the history, in the very beginning of u-blox, it was all about getting the basically the startup time to acceptable value. I still remember GNSS receivers that took minutes to create the first position. That was then brought down to half a minute. Then the next big thing was to increase basically the coverage to get GNSS position also inside buildings. Next step then was around the world more political driven scenario that more and more countries or regions decided to have their own satellite-based positioning systems. So we saw a revival of the Russian GLONASS system. We saw China coming up with Beidou, Europe with Galileo, Japan with QZSS, and so on. So of course, then on the receiver side, we needed to support all these constellations. And today, we more and more see this political impact that, for example, of course, if you want to sell products in China, they have to support the Chinese system. Maybe some customers in the Americas don't want you to use the Chinese system, so there are different requirements in the market, and it is important that we support all these systems. Then the last step that we are still currently working on very, very strongly, and where we have announced our u-blox 9 products, is all about bringing the precision from meter level to centimeter level. We are at this point right now. Of course, now is again seeing from the market this perspective from specialty applications to mass market. This is the trend that we see, that this high precision also enables more and more applications that have been unthought of before. The next big thing in our view is now looking forward. This high precision is only, let's say, part of the story. Even as important is that you can really rely on this position information. So the next step here will all be about getting trustworthy position and understanding whether you can really rely on the position information. You can imagine for an autonomous car it's extremely important that you always know I can rely on that precise position that I get from my GNSS receiver, and no one is able to spoof it or to mislead me. You may have seen videos on YouTube where this was demonstrated. So this is, of course, the new big thing in GNSS technology, to make sure that you can rely on the position that is presented here. So what do we deliver with our products? We have a standard precision product family that works in the meter level accuracy, very cost-efficient solution and solving many problems, global availability, and you can find out where things are. Then the high precision in the area decimeter to centimeter accuracy for a lot of robotics applications, for surveying, for precision agriculture applications, but also, of course, for autonomous driving. That reckoning is a complementary technology where we use inertial sensors, accelerometers, gyroscopes to also have position information in areas where we don't see the satellites. So this is also, again, a technology very important for the car market, but also for scooters, for example, where you want to have 100% coverage and see where things are. Last but not least, very interesting market for us. GNSS also delivers very precise timing information. This is used all over the world in all kind of communication systems. Most notably, 5G rollout is in high demand for this, but also power grids, also financial systems where transactions need to be timed precisely. So very interesting market for us as well. Now, after this very rough overview, just one topic that already did shine through in Thomas' presentation, security. We believe security is absolutely essential to build trust into IoT applications. We know IoT is moving into our lives. We have more and more devices that collect information, be it a smart meter, be it a scooter, be it your car. And we believe it is extremely important that the users of these products can trust that the personal information that is transmitted there is not being tampered with, is only going into the hands where it is intended to go, and it is our task to make sure from a technology side that our systems are secure. So we believe IoT without security will not really happen, and this is the reason we invest quite heavily into this area. So what are kind of the 4 areas here? First point I already alluded to is confidentiality, or you may also call privacy. So this means that the assets or information can only be used and accessed by authorized parties. Basically, the flip side of that coin is the availability. On the other hand, you also need to make sure that the assets are accessible to those parties who are authorized to do so, and that this happens in a timely manner. Then on top of this, there is integrity. This is, I explained already for the positioning system. You have to trust the information. If I get information into my cloud system about the position of a device, I need to be able to trust that it's really coming from this device and it is representing the truth. The same applies to any sensor data. If I get information about my heart rate, I also want to be sure that it is coming from my heart and not from a different one. Then, last but not least, of course, robustness. Wherever there is money involved, we see intentional attacks, but there is also unintentional interference just from radio frequencies, just data being corrupted for other imperfections. So we need to design our systems in the way that they are robust and deliver consistent quality of service. This leads us to our 5 principles on security. A lot of fine print here. Just don't want to go to this, but the basic thing is you have to make sure that the device in itself is secure, and this we do by methods that we implement in our products. Then we have to make sure that the data that goes in and out of our products is secured. So this is then more a service component. And last but not least, we also need to make sure that the operation over the lifetime is ensured and that we can maintain the high level of security over the lifetime of a system. So you all know from your antivirus software on your PC that security without maintenance, without updates, is a very short-lived element, and of course the same thing applies also here. So we need updates of firmware, we need to be able to improve systems over the life. So after all this technical stuff, just to close my part, a few customer wins and what our customers are doing. First use case here, very typical for many of us, our customers, very versatile professional tracker. You can use it for many things. You can think of tracking machines in a construction field or construction site. You can also think of tracking boxes, parcels, containers. Very generic application, but it combines all the 3 products from our product centers, a cellular, long-distance connectivity, Bluetooth, to connect additional sensors or also connect to people through a smartphone, and of course, positioning technology to tag things where they are on the globe or even on the construction site. Another one, totally different area, medical application, customer called Leica. This is a kind of a wristwatch, but more in that sense is more a medical hub. So it connects to sensors via Bluetooth. So for example, as I mentioned, the heart rate, or can also be glucose monitor or other sensors, ECG for example. And this data is then concentrated in this medical hub and can then be transferred to the cloud so that, for example, general practitioner can analyze the data and help patients to monitor their health. This is more a professional device, but of course, you know, all these Fitbit watches and these things, they do the same on a much lower level. So that's for sure an interesting area. Again, very nice because all three product centers can contribute to such solutions. Next one, Cowboy smart e-bike. This is a kind of next generation smart e-bike because it's just the bike and it enables a lot of use cases, but it's not really specific to a certain use case. So you can think of a shared bike application, but also just as a private bike with a lot of IoT features. In the end, it has all our products integrated and becomes a bike that you can manage through the cloud, through the smartphone, and so on. You can see where it is. You can do maintenance and so on. So very interesting application here. This one was already shown a couple of times. The lawnmower, quite futuristic now. I think the big change we see here is that we really can call it now robotics. Is no longer the thing that just moves around randomly, but is really controlled by precise positioning. So it really knows where it is on the lawn and what it needs to do, so more efficient and better quality results. Then this one is yet another application. In this case is for positioning only. This is an application we mainly see in China these days. It's about low emission fireworks, so to say. So instead of rockets, we use drones that are controlled according to a choreography and then can present like pictures like this on the sky. So on the one hand, you can do much more things with it. On the other hand, of course, also completely emission-free. Interesting application in this area. So in a summary, why do we invest so much into the depths of technology, into the low end, so to say, of the value chain? And I think it is clear from the things I mentioned before, it's really about bringing functionality to the customer that we could not bring to the customer if we would not have this access to the deep levels of technology. We bring our customers a lower cost of ownership because we can complement our core technology also with services. And this makes a total solution that enables a lot of business models. On top, for us, very important, because we have our own core technology, we are much less depending on third-party suppliers, and we can also fit our products much better to customer demand. Over lifetime, of course, because we have control from the very roots of the technology, we can improve the margins, and we can take along our customers over a very long lifetime of their end products, because we can always ensure we can maintain the product. We are never depending on a partner that may go away. In the end, this results in better customer support thanks to full insight and control. So what we see right now on our roadmap, where are we? Looking again at all the three product centers. On the cellular side, we have brought to the market the 4G chips. So we have a Cat1 chipset in the market. We have a Cat-M chipset and module announced, the Sarah R5. Next step here is looking into what will the evolution to 5G bring to us. On the positioning side, we have standard precision products, SPG. We have the high precision products, dead reckoning and timing products, chips and modules. And the next step here is going in the direction of functional, safe products and, of course, next generation in general with high precision and high integrity. Short range, very broad, probably the industry broadest portfolio of products in the Wi-Fi and Bluetooth module domain. Latest additions are V2X and Bluetooth 5.1. And moving forward here, we go forward to more chips, especially in the V2X domain, and modules with enhanced functionality, again, also complemented by more service components. Just a little bit an outlook. What is very close up at the horizon. You may have seen this announcement, and this tells us that autonomous driving is not longer a fantasy and something for crazy Silicon Valley companies, but also that the most serious companies in the car domain that have been the flagship on the security and safety side for many, many years, they are going in these directions, and we see more and more of this, and this shows basically the potential also for the developments we are working on in the positioning domain mainly. So we are investing a lot in this space because we believe this will, going forward, be a very important component in the market, and u-blox has all the ingredients to play here a leading role. Then to close my part of the presentation, just a little bit for the fun of it. We have seen the scooter now many times. One of our customers, you may not recognize the name Ninebot, but this is also a merger with the company formerly known as Segway. So you remember these scooters where you could stand on and move back and forth. So the Ninebot Segway company, they are working on scooters that can drive autonomously. The whole idea is, how do I collect the scooters in the evening to bring them to the charging station again? And here is a little video to come, and afterwards we will be open for questions. So I think this is another very nice example that if we talk about autonomous vehicles, it's not always about a car that runs with 200 kilometers per hour on a highway and could kill people if something bad happens. It's also about lawnmowers that are very peaceful devices, or these little scooters that at the speed of maybe 5 kilometers per hour would also not harm somebody, but can bring tremendous value because they really simplify the management and enable really these new applications. And I think people will be our customers, have a lot of fantasy, are very innovative in this area, and we are very happy to be able to support them in these kind of new applications. So from a program and agenda point of view, we have now a question session before we then go over to the coffee break. And I think our colleague Gitte is here with a microphone, so please raise your hand for questions that we can also hear you.
Just a question, can you give me the answer? How many of your chips are working when I use a scooter?
How many? Basically 3, as you have seen. No, mostly there are the 3 technologies involved, as we have presented. So it's to know where it is. It is that you can connect with your smartphone to release it or return it. And of course that the system operator knows where is the device needs cellular connectivity. So it really is the ideal case for all our technologies. And you can almost be certain that these things are around you when you drive it.
And the value of in one scooter?
Yeah, so you ask about the value that is making such a solution. That is probably between $20 and $40, depending on what type of solution is involved and what type of performance you want to achieve.
Thank you for your presentation. You mentioned that you make $100 roughly per car today. What is the target for the next coming years? How much dollar you can actually achieve per car?
Yeah, so such a number is, the potential value we can get out of the car. We are not yet at such a high number. It's much lower, but it's hard to say what it really is. The field is so diverse between the various car models that I cannot give you a year-by-year increase, so to say. But I will talk later about that. It is the structural change, this increase of content, that is, of course, an important growth driver for our company. It is visible today and will continue to be visible in the future.
Yes, maybe in connection to that question with the Golf, for example, I mean, what would be the content from u-blox, and are there second suppliers as well? And how would that progress going into next model? I mean, is it sure if you're a V2X supplier that you're also in the next model, such as an ID3 or so, with this technology?
Yeah, of course, we are not the owner of these decision makers and what is deciding then for next content in the car. But clearly we see from all the requests we have in the market that there is progress for expansion. The RFQs are containing more and more wireless content. And of course, if one car maker paves such a way forward with a next technology like Volkswagen does with the Golf, of course there's more in the pipeline behind, because these are all also in a company and OEM platform developments. They are added on to next generations and different types of models. So this is of course a sign of a trend that is really strong.
And the second source, is there always a second source, for example, for V2X? Or
in the car
what's
market,
the share then between you?
there is not normally no second source. It's a one source approach, but the source is selected relatively early in the design cycle. So then there is competition between the several suppliers, and of course we have competitors in such situations. So it is about to win then the socket, to win the platform that goes into a program or into a platform of a car. And with that, the decision is made with the supplier.
On page 31, you had this 3G, now 4G. Is that something that will help you in the coming year? Because the transition, they need to replace old systems, or is it something that's...
Yes, absolutely. This is, there are a couple of aspects to this. On the one is exactly this replacement, because we see more and more regions of the world where the legacy technologies are being end-of-life or shut down. So we have, for example, the 2G network in the United States, which is disappearing. We had 2 years ago this old CDMA network going away, and of course this leads to a replacement demand from our customers so that they want to go and need to go to new technologies. This is the one side of the coin, so it's generating business, transferring legacy installations to new ones. It is good now that we have really rolled out the new LTE technologies for these low data rate categories, because this was holding back a little bit the market, because this had to be developed, had to be deployed, and there was a kind of time of a kind of a gray zone where it was clear that the old technologies will go away, but the new technologies were not yet ready. I think we are over that. We see now that the narrowband IoT and Cat-M networks are really becoming available worldwide, so customers really have an option to change, and we see this now at increasing pace. The other side of that story is that for us the device design becomes much more simplified, because we don't need to invest into these legacy technologies anymore. Our products no longer need to support 2G or 3G, because now, looking into the future, a pure LTE-only product becomes viable, and that makes the product simpler.
One simple question, these Navi systems, you mentioned only 2 competitors, so are you, for example, main supplier for TomToms or car Navis or not?
We cannot make any specific announcements if it's not announced elsewhere, because such relationships have always covered by non-disclosure agreements. But of course we cover the market at large, and the applications are manifold. But when we talk about, what Andy explained, then of course this goes across the board. The whole industry is changing and adopting to these new technologies.
But you were asking specifically about positioning technologies, so I think there is of course also again a market where we have to look at various levels. So if we talk about OEM, so navigation systems in the car, we are clearly the dominant leader in that market. If it comes to things that are, you mentioned TomTom, that are more something between a smartphone and something else, that's a more fragmented market with a lot of players in there. But also there we, of course, have a quite significant market share.
You said that autonomous driving is around the corner. However, it might well be that technology makes fast progress, but what is the role of the regulator here? I mean, it might be that technology is able to do a lot of things, but probably it will not be allowed to be operational as long as there is no proof that it is really safe. So is that not likely to, prolong the whole implementation of that autonomous driving thing?
Yeah, of course. I mean, there are such questions around. With every new technology, probably, the question is, what are the rules? It's basically a question you ask, how can we estimate the market? How is the progress here? How much more can we expect? But of course, for us, we make technology pieces that are applied to many, many different use cases. The car is one, but we have seen the scooters, we have seen the lawnmower, we have industrial vehicles, we have delivery vehicles that become autonomous. So our market is much broader. So we are insofar not so dependent that now one legal problem is resolved, like you mentioned. For us, it is important we make pieces of technology that we can really sell to a wide array of customers and make it so versatile. What the outcome will be on the car side, we will see. I mean, wait for announcements of how cars are finally delivering this functionality and in what context. But for sure, there are legal questions around. And even today, at least in my car, I receive probably every 6 months an update to the legal conditions, how I can use connectivity in the car.
And did I understand you right that you said that the e-scooter mobility case could be kind of a test market also for the automotive development, i.e., it will develop faster, there is probably less regulation issues, and there we could see how that runs, how that works, and that could help then the automotive industry as well.
Yeah, you can see it so. I mean, it's a complementary market, let's say it this way. It's another form of mobility, and especially in towns, of course, also replacing some of what is a car mobility. It helps for sure to see how the use case can be built, how that can be built into the society, so to say, under what conditions this shall be operated. And again, technology can help here a lot to really make it happening. For example, because there is a good control over where are these vehicles, can they be used and where can they be not used. Also for the towns, it's for sure also a better way of keeping control because they can assign where these vehicles can be located and where they cannot be located, and that they are disappearing from the road and not just hanging around. I mean, there's a lot of things we can learn indeed, and I think this is indeed very interesting to see how now, thanks to all the information flow, how you can manage such a system.
Thank you.
Are there more questions? If this is not the case, then I invite you for a coffee break. We continue at 11:30.
I'm the new member responsible for sales and marketing at the u-blox executive team. And it's really great to be here this morning. End of November, I will have completed the first 90 days at u-blox. And this morning, I will go into more details in how I see the value of the company. I will talk about the value chain. I will talk about how we bring this value to the market. And you as investors, very interested to hear, of course, how are we able to extract that value from the market. To get into the topic, I want to talk about 3 phases. We start a 3rd phase. The first phase was from 97 to 2008, where we achieved technology leadership on the positioning side, having our own IP, having our own chipsets, and we have established a very, very strong brand in the market. So in the last 90 days, I had a chance, of course, to have an insight into the value of the market, but I was also meeting with some of our top customers. And it really showed that we have a brand recognition out there. Then in the second phase, 2008 to 2018, we complemented the portfolio with connectivity products on the cellular and the short-range side. And very important, we gained IP that are incorporated in our chipsets. Now this is all known, and Andy has been talking about this in his previous section. Now in the 3rd phase, our target is to achieve leadership positions in growing markets and also in how I would call it, shaping customers in those markets. We are going to broaden our solution offering, so we are not just competing on individual sockets, that's of course as well, but there is a value in offering solutions. And we have seen that more and more, and we have customers coming to us because we have the broad technology in-house, and they ask for help bringing that technology to market. And that's a unique value to the customers. So the 3rd phase is really creating more value and expanding our reach. Now, what does that mean? You have heard about automotive, industrial, and consumer markets. It's the same as when you talk about positioning, cellular, and short range. It is important to go there a level deeper and understand, okay, so what are we really addressing? What market areas are we addressing? And the automotive market, as you can see here, is not just, cars, it's accessories also into the market, it's insurance boxes. So there are segments within markets. The industrial market is even more complex. And the consumer market there as well. Thomas was talking about high-touch consumer. Now, for us as a company, as we have a very broad customer base, we have access to all these markets. The question then is, should we also focus on all those markets? And the answer is no. We are focusing on selected areas that are growing fast and also on shaping customers in those areas to expand our reach. Now, how are we able basically to do that? And that is through our unique value proposition. Our unique selling proposition is still on the positioning side. We have a very strong anchor with positioning in those applications. Now, when you then look at the board, there's wireless technology all around because you have to transmit that information. And then you have cellular and you have short-range technologies all around you. And the combination of those technologies form the solution. And as we as a company have a long history there, as I explained there before, the unmatched functionality on the solution side is sticking us to the customer. And that is a value that with the right go-to-market strategy, we are able to extract from the market. So we are the undisputed leader on the positioning with a very strong brand, already in those target markets. And now by combining our technologies to a solution offering to the customer and doing that in growth areas and with really shaping customers, that will bring us to the next level in the company. That's the phase 3 I have been talking about. And it's impressive if you look at the solution space, you know, how much can we own on the board? And there are applications where we own up to 70% of the bill of material, and that's huge. So that's a value, you know, a high value of the content that we have in those boxes. And here we are adding additional functionality, and we are able to do that because we own the IP and the technology. I was meeting yesterday with a very large tool company. They want to bring tools into the market that are connected to the internet. And we were discussing about our cellular roadmap. So we were going from 2G to 5G, and then the head of the division basically said, okay, I'm coming to u-blox because I can't fail bringing my product to market, and I need to be able to deliver the product not just the next 2 years, but 9 years, and that's what Andy has described before. So there are competitors in the market that offering a solution, but 2 years later, it's not available anymore. And then that customer said, well, I have very high-priced tools. I need to be able to position these tools, and there's a lot of spoofing and so on going on, right? So if I'm not able, you know, to find these high-priced tools, you know, I'm in real trouble. So we were talking about our positioning solutions. And at the end, the customer basically said, okay, I need to be able to integrate, you know, positioning in cellular, you know, into our products that we want to get out in the next 2 years into the market. I can't fail. So the customer said, let's bring my team and your team together and see how we can integrate that. And you help me to bring the product to market fast. And that's how we work. Now, in the next few slides, I want to show you the value pyramid. And I will show you also the support pyramid and how we get the value to the market. Now, why do I show a pyramid? Well, the pyramid is very stable. You can't kick it around, right? It's very stable, and that's a value that we bring in by owning IP, by doing our own chipsets, and we don't only do our own chipsets, we are doing modules, we do the integration of the modules into the application, and while doing this, we are addressing unique problems of the customers. So we have people driving around in cities in an end product, doing positioning tests with the end customer. And I have been working in chipset companies. They don't do that. So there is a value that u-blox brings to the market that is very unique. And our go-to-market approach is to extract really that value from the market. We don't only talk about price. You know, when you address a cellular product, and we all know cellular, I wouldn't say it's a commodity, but there is very tough competition. You know, we are addressing applications where it's not just about the price. Price is, of course, also important, but there's a lot of other elements, and I try to show that in the example that I addressed before. Price comes secondary or third, but it's really the ability of helping the customer, you know, of accelerating the time to business. And that is what u-blox is able to do. Now, how does that actually work? And that's what I'm showing in the next slide. The key steps to a custom engagement. I think this is very important to understand because when we go to a customer, we don't just put a catalog on the table and say, choose your cellular solution, choose your Wi-Fi solution, choose your positioning solution. When we go to the customer, it's a very in-depth, deep discussion on a deep technical discussion. The decision for u-blox is very often made in these very first meetings. You know, there are problems, there's application-related issues that we are addressing, and by being able to bring that competency that we have in the company really to the customer interface and work with the customer as a partner, we log in the customer and we are able to also get the orders. Now, it is really in the first steps on the prospecting side, evaluation, and the design in, where the customer very often decides to go with a product. Of course, qualification, pre-production, production needs to be there. Here we offer a very high quality supply chain, but it's also in the very first instances when we talk to the customer, where a deep understanding of the application and the product and the customer need is necessary, where we win the business. Now, how are we able basically to do that? And that is where I show this here in the support pyramid. We have a very good research and development departments, deep technical knowledge in these departments. And our go-to-market strategy and approach is to bring that competency to the customer. We are, in that respect, very agile. We are still, as Thomas said at the beginning, acting in that way as a startup. And that is what customers love. They want to have access to that technology. Now, when you become a bigger company, when you have a very broad portfolio, this can become more complex, of course. So we have a structure that allows us to bring that competency to the customer. Now, how does that structure look like? Well, when we talk to the customer, of course we have salespeople that open the door, but immediately there's marketing and there are product experts, available to help the customer in their problem statements. And that is, I think, very important to understand how we bring our value to the market. Well, we have to understand, and we are understanding the customer and the customer needs and deploying our resources there accordingly. In that respect, we can always be one step further than our competitor. And there is more value that we add to the customer, and by that we are also able to extract more value from the customer. Of course, we have an infrastructure here with a direct sales force, but we also have local specialized distributors who understand our products and customer. We have a very close engagement there. We, of course, have catalog and global distributors because the market becomes more global and we need to be able to service customers across the globe. So we are focusing a lot also, as we are addressing big customers, on a global infrastructure. And then, as I explained before, we have a world-class technical support team in place that helps us to get the business. On top of that, we have established what we call a maker community. They do ready to copy solutions for the customer. So what we do, it's all about accelerating the time to business for the customer, and that's, of course, very beneficial for our business. So when I talk about customers, and that's shown in the next slide, we have a very broad customer base. Now, you might wonder, okay, how are you able to support all that customer base, the 6,700 customers? Or 6,800 customers I show in another slide. So it's a lot of customers. And that's good, right, to have a very broad customer base, because those customers address the markets, all the markets, but there are a few that address also those markets where we want to focus on. And for sure, there are customers that are the leaders in their markets. And our approach is to bring that competency to the leaders of the markets to expand, basically, our value on their boards. And that's what I have been talking about the next phase, to offer solutions to these shaper customers. Now, our go-to-market approach is really, and I repeat here myself, but this is very important to understand, it's a razor-sharp focus to move from a design into a business win. And that requires hand-holding. So we are more to the customer than a lot of our competitors. We are holding their hand and we lead them through the steps. And we classify the customers. So we don't let any customers go. There's small customers, big customers that come to us and want to have support. We give them support, but we think very carefully where we deploy our resources. And our go-to-market approach and driving growth is, of course, making sure we have the right priority there. So we have a very strong technical sales team addressing the shapers in this industry. And we have a very good network of distributors and partners that help the very broad customer base. This is key for our success. By doing that, there is an engagement with the customer that is second to none. And for some customers, we can even talk about partnerships. We are entering into partnerships. We are aligning our roadmaps to their needs. And by that, we are able, to establish, as I said before, leadership positions in the markets that we address. Now, addressing a customer can be quite complex. So I showed you here an example of the OEM in the automotive space. And there is a whole value chain behind it. And for us, on the sales and on the marketing side, it is very important to understand, who makes what kind of decisions. So we have a push and the pull marketing team in place. OEMs increasingly determine the specifications. So we are talking to the BMWs and the Audis and the Teslas, as well as we are talking to the Bosch and the Harmans and the TomToms, to really understand, okay, where is this market going, and then being able also to address the sockets accordingly. That means also we have a global reach. We do global biddings together, and have the capability, the people in place that can follow up. And that is very critical. Sometimes we don't know, where is the market really going? There are, geopolitical situations that it's very difficult to forecast sometimes, as you can imagine. However, we know our customers. We understand where they are going. Of course, if they don't understand where the market is going, it's sometimes difficult. But the key here for us to derive our strategy is understanding the customer. We know them well. We know the projects. We have very efficient tool sets in place throughout the organization. Our application engineering team, marketing team, sales team, product development team, they have access to this. We're setting the right priorities. That allows us to respond very fast. We have very fast turnaround times with customers. In terms of the value chain, our lead times are short. We can react to customers very fast. And again, that allows us really to be a partner with global players. So in the next two slides, it's really the conclusion. By the way we go to market, how we address the market, by the deep technical knowledge that we have and the structure we have put in place there, we are able to extract more value out of the market. That's really a key value proposition of u-blox. The positioning is really the anchor. We have established over the last 20 years a unique position there in the market. Wireless is all around our positioning solutions. There are more and more requirements towards security, for instance, we have been talking about. And we are able basically to combine that and bring that value to the customer, to allow them a fast time to business. And that makes us really a very, very strong partner, as you can imagine, for our target customers. Now, it is about the value chain that we are addressing, and we have a very far reach in this value chain. You know, from the IP side, going very, very deep into the value chain. The position is really built from the core, the IP, the technology, the application knowledge, and that cannot be very easily attacked. We are more to the customer than just, you know, a catalog supplier. That's really the pyramid I have been showing you before. That is very well defendable by us. And then the technology that we deliver is so complex, the customer needs help, right? And our go-to-market approach and strategy is holding the customer at the end. By that, we are partnering with our customers. We don't compete with our customers. And in many, many cases, we are more to our customers than our competitors, at least those, you know, that we keep naming. And with that, concluding my presentation.
Thank you, Markus. I'm stepping in for our colleague Jean-Pierre Wies, co-founder of the company. I talk about a third subject that makes our company, this is operations. But what we heard so far from Andreas Thiel, from Markus Schäfer, these are the core activities and the core focus areas that has this company. We are a fabless company. We focus precisely on technology and on the relationship with the customer. This is where we are spending all our own resources and efforts. We do outsource all production, and I like to give you a quick overview of what is this field and partnerships that we maintain. These partnerships are very long-standing, almost 20 years old. We have two partners for making integrated circuits. This is Global Foundries with fabrication in Singapore and in Germany. And we do partner with Taiwan Semiconductor, the largest manufacturer of integrated circuits worldwide by far, of course located mainly in Taiwan. We use another partner called Amkor. They do package the integrated circuit. So what we get from Global Foundries and from TSMC are naked chips, so a little piece of a silicon that of course comes in on a large die. And Amkor does package it into a case, into something that the customer can handle, respectively we can handle, to put it on a board. And for making the modules, we use Flex, formerly called Flextronics, that are making our modules in Austria. These are major companies in the field of electronics. They are leaders, as you can see, between number 1 and number 3. They are important to us because they have such a size, they have all the capabilities, they are world leaders in making these operations, having, of course, the right capacity, having the level of quality we need to serve our customers, and also they have purchasing power. This is as essential to be then also competitive on the price side, respectively supporting our profitability. Now, we are living in a world of a lot of tensions that does not make business so easy. However, we are really in a very favorable situation. Not only that we are a Swiss company, but that our manufacturing locations, and this means the origin of our products, are outside of the territories where tensions are built or have built up and are somehow continuing to exist, at least from what we can see actually. So what really helps us here, we are not affected by any of these tensions that we can do business or that we have disadvantages in dealing with customers, not in the Americas, not in Europe, and of course also not in Asia. This is, I think, very fortunate that we have such a situation. Still, of course, we must say our customers could have issues. They are sometimes affected by trade tensions, by tariffs, by acceptance. And therefore, we are, of course, not free of this situation. And we have to live with the fact that there is uncertainty in the market. However, to reach customers, to win new customers, to gain new design-ins, we are really very well positioned to expand. And with this, I hand over to Roland Jude, talking some financial insights.
Thank you, Thomas. Good morning, and also a warm welcome from my side. As the half-year figures, the most recent figures are mainly known to you. And if not, you can find them as well under our investor relations with the half-year report and the presentation. I will focus now a little bit on R&D and how all these R&D efforts are represented or can be found in our numbers. To do that, I want to use this picture from our internal product lifecycle process. It shows how we manage projects and programs within u-blox. And also this is the basis which tells to us what we capitalize and what not. We manage R&D at the program and project level. And today we run more than 250 projects at the same time in different stages. This is ranging from chip development down to improvement of, for example, Android software, which we offer, and all these are working into this framework. In a half-year cycle, we review the projects again, try to align to situations in the market or in the development to put our efforts best into what we develop. And with that, we run that in a way that we put them on gates. On gate 2, this is one of the important gates of the project life of a project, because this is the point in time when we know what we can do technically. So the thing is technically feasible on one hand. On the other hand, it's also financially feasible, means that the cost we plan to expense is covered by the cash flows in the future, so the net present value is more than zero, and this is also the point in time when we start capitalizing. Means every effort before gate 2 are expensed and run directly to the P&L. Every effort after gate 2 in a project will be capitalized on the balance sheet. And how long do we do that? We do that until initial production, the point in time when, so to say, the product development is nearly finished or a product is available. You can use and sell this product. Not everything is done. You see there is a gate 8 with the delivery release, mass production. Also there is some development needed, but in fact at gate 7 IP stage is the point in time when we stop capitalizing these efforts, and further efforts are expensed again in the P&L, and we start also amortizing now the capitalized costs. So on this graph you see we have a large upfront investment, first. The capitalization period is roughly 3 to 5 years. And also the amortization period is according to IFRS, the useful life. But for this useful life estimate, we use a rather conservative view. So that means we estimate that the useful life is only 3 to 5 years. This is the period which we amortize our capitalized R&D again. But as you can see, and also Andy mentioned it, we have a lot of products which have a useful life of 9 to 10 years. So we have cash flows also after the amortization is already done and the asset is gone out of the balance sheet. So our balance sheet reflects at the end all our core value. At half year, we have 195 million on the balance sheet containing products or developments for all three technologies, so cellular, short range, and positioning. The capitalization rate in the first half year 19 was 42% of our R&D costs. To give you an intention, a new platform costs about between 20 and 35 million. And we have in development roughly 6 new platforms spread over all technologies. The biggest portion in capitalized R&D today is for cellular technology, but it's roughly 42%. But as you can see also here, we have spent a lot invested a lot also in the other two areas. So how do we manage where we spend and how do we spend? Free cash flow is our core KPI. So we look when we are in the budgeting phase and defining where we spend our money next year, how much R&D we can afford based on with the goal to have at the end a positive free cash flow, and based on that we decide where do we spend our money in R&D. As I said, for a model you can take 45% capitalization rate. This is fluctuating depending also due to the case that how many projects are now in Gate 7 and how many are really capitalized of the efforts. In the past 4 years, we have established several new chipsets, as you also have seen in our product announcement. So now we are turning into harvesting time, so we can make use of these new products and they start bringing cash flow back for the expenditures we did. And Thomas will give you now an impact what this means in the short term, so about the guidance for 2019, and secondly then also an outlook for the midterm. What does these investments bring then in the next 5 years?
Thank you, Roland. Before coming to financial numbers, still a summary in the sense of what that means for the outlook with a strategic eye. So the strategy has 4 pillars. We have communicated that before. We maintain activity according to these 4 themes. And I think our presentation has shown we are really strong in occupying markets. We are leaders in many application areas and have sometimes quite a high market share already. Of course, that is sometimes good. Yes, we are participating strongly in markets, but of course also we are affected by cyclical behavior of these markets. Means we need to develop the market position continuously to of course gain other new applications with high market share, and this is where our product offer and our reputation plays a highly important role. We achieve new sockets because we continually innovate. We put a lot of effort into technology and innovation, and also we have a good outflow of the pipeline. We have recently announced several major new platforms that offer many new capabilities for our customers to by themselves innovate, respectively from our point of view, to reach markets we were not able to reach before. We have shown in positioning a 9th generation of product that is forking into more applications than ever before. We have in cellular our own chipset offer that complies with what is the evolution in the standards and what is this change to LTE, making it a new offer and also new capability, because cellular can do a lot more than the old legacy standards. For example, power consumption is much lower than it was for 2G and 3G. And finally, in short-range radio, our platform development was the car-to-car communication, the V2X, and as we have just shown, this is now really going to happen in the industry. And all that, of course, is an operation that has a certain size, that is expanding as we go forward. We need to have operational excellence. We are not alone in this market. We also have to compete. We have to be quick in coming up and be always a little faster. So making and keeping our operation lean and agile is absolutely essential. And as you can see from the numbers, in 2010 we had 400 engineers and were running about one major program. Now we have 800 engineers and have various programs in parallel to keep our R&D pipeline nicely filled also for the future. And insofar, number shows such excellence, we were also able to expand our customer base. Year on year we have more customers. And with the concept for going to market, with making sure we spend the time where the most we can gain from markets, helps us, of course, to gain additional new sockets and business. And finally, we do not everything alone. We have partnerships in place. We have expanded them. We have partnerships where it makes sense to cooperate, because partners can have a different reach into the market, can attain customers we would not see otherwise and cannot meet their needs. This is mainly the case with Kudelski for security and for Subcorda for data services that go into the hands of customers. And of course, the other element here is doing acquisitions. We are very glad we were able to make an acquisition this year in the field of short-range radio modules and find acceleration from this side. So quickly about these partnerships, they are important to us. With Rigado, we have acquired a bolt-on business. This is still our preferred principle, find relatively small add-ons that we can very quickly integrate to the company. We acquired the company at the end of July, and I would say 2 months later, everything was part of u-blox. There was almost nothing visible that it was before a different company, and we were quickly in going to market, in engaging new customers, and of course also starting to cross-sell between the two. With Subcorda, we are about to bring this important service to market. It is a necessity that we can sell high-precision products that are really a new offer, a very unique offer to the market. We have seen extremely good feedback from customers. And of course, the overall system must be complete. And that's the same also for our security offer. Together with Kudelski, we were able to bring that forward, to conceptualize, also to get certain IP blocks, and on the other hand, have Kudelski, a partner that is serving our customers to a certain part, but mainly the customers of the customer. And we see from the market that Kudelski has a very good reputation in the area of security, that are a renowned name, and I think this is a strong partnership that works on a global scale. Now, strategy means also, and there's often a question from your side, are we really making progress? Is this not just some cold vapor? How do these product launches really go into the market? And here is a view to give you some numbers also to this question. So first of all, of course, new products need acceptance by customers. And of course, even before, we had to have a good insight and knowledge what is really the problem we are going to solve for these customers and why are we making this product. But hopefully we have done the homework, and indeed we have excellent customer feedback from all these new platforms. They are really excited. Some proposals are really new, are highly different to what was available so far. And indeed, we have good ramp up with products. And again, to show you how long-term we are, this little graph here, the black bars show you the distribution over time, relative, on how products are ramping up and of course then ramping down in the later phase, and also how long it takes. So it is year 4 to 6 where we have the majority of sales, and still year 7 is strong relatively to the others. So we have really a long harvesting time. And the question is, do new products ramp up? Here's an example of our modules for the LT standard category M. Yes, they are ramping up as expected. So we are really strong, have a strong foothold built here with this new offer. And of course, it is all about also building volume with modules, and this is also important with this graph. These modules are building a base then for later changing into products that have our own chipset inside. We always start in new areas with a module made from third-party chipsets, later replace it by our own technology, and because we have already a strong foothold in the market and an interesting volume, this of course makes it the ramp up then for the only investment very solid and against the market we own. And of course, from a financial point of view, we are quickly running into strong business numbers. Good. Now to some financial numbers and outlook. These numbers are unchanged to what we have shown in August. So our guidance is here is confirmed with all the numbers you can see in the red block. Now, what is our take of how is the market running at the moment? So we have to see that there are two forces that are at play. On the one side, we have good structural growth. This means we see many new applications and new customers ramping up and delivering new business, sometimes in a really amazing growth rate. But on the other side, we have, of course, a broad customer base that is established, where we have sometimes, as I said, in areas, sometimes a good market share, but there is cyclical decline at the moment. We have to see that the world is not turning optimum at the moment. There is a lot of uncertainty around for political, but also for perhaps also you can say structural or society reasons. The car industry is under pressure from many dimensions, with all the change also for making it a different type of propulsion system by going electric. This is a huge change through the whole value chain in the industry and primarily in Europe. So our view to the three regions is in APAC we see continued good growth, mainly from China, but also the other countries do nicely. It's, I would say, mainly structural growth we see there, with a lot of acceptance for going to the connected thing and making products more smart. In EMEA, we have a lot of cyclical impact to the downside and a lot of negative sentiments in the industry that is not helping us to see growth. And in the Americas, we have had a lot of troubles around the change to the new LT standards, category M. Fortunately, this is resolved in the industry. It took very long and much longer than what we ever thought. But now we have more the trouble that the customers are affected by trade war problems, by the import duties they like to avoid, because many of our customers have, of course, manufactured in China and now are moving out, but this you cannot do overnight. This is troublesome, takes time, and is not helping to expand. And of course, we are, from a numbers point of view, have a higher portion of depreciation and amortization from the capitalized R&D, but this is nothing new. This is just to explain why between 2018 and 2019, the difference between EBITDA and EBIT is increasing. So the expansion and the structural forces, they are really available. We have done and do a lot to participate in this, to increase and of course make sure this increasing mobility and expansion of cloud services are coming into our hands and playing to opportunities that we can find additional customers and business. And all is based on, I think, very solid product initiatives. We have invested heavily. Really, we went to the edge of the table, but that is, of course, necessary and strategically sound because the market offers such huge opportunity. And really, we have a strong position. We are preferred by leading customers. We have always been able to find the leading customers in these application areas, in the drones or the scooters, to make these two examples, or in the automotive industry or in some of the industrial fields, because we have the right solution. We are the solid partner with the long-term quality mindset and can here do a lot to win business, and also we win it with a good share in the value chain. We are getting an extra for what we do because we also deliver an extra value, and together with services that we are expanding, this can even be further improved. So this has also an outlook towards how can we improve our financial cycle. It's not only that we get a premium price. This is, of course, the first thing to get. Can we get more from our customers? Can we improve profitability from that point of view? Yes, we can. We are getting better prices than competition because we also give more into the hands of our customers. On the OPEX side, we are continually improving efficiency. We can make more out of what we already have. Andy explained, we have a lot of knowledge that we can package into a next generation product with less effort. And finally, we have also the data services that we do for a long time already, but that we are going to monetize much stronger. And we have more of such data services that we are about to implement. So altogether, of course, it's also a matter of scale and, of course, of cross-selling, so of mechanics in the market, how we can improve the profitability. It's coming strongly also from this side. Cross-selling is a nice element that we have at hand. It is really important to win customers and get more out of their hands. And the scale, of course, was here forever. It is absolutely essential for what we do. Scale is driving profitability. And because we make chips and modules, the scale effect is even more pronounced. We see that thanks to this arrangement, we can increase gross margins slightly every year. And last but not least, another mechanical element is the tax reform in Switzerland will help us to reduce tax rate, mainly from the side of the provisions on R&D cost, how this can be brought into play. Good. Now, last year at this event, we showed a midterm guidance. We are showing the same set of numbers again, slightly revised. Of course, nothing is fixed. We are reviewing this also. Want to give you an update. Basically, the same message. We are looking forward to good growth. We believe the market where we are in and the technology we are making is really at high demand. The structural changes will propel this. And with all the mechanics that we have in the company, we can also improve profitability. This is what we aim for. This is what we are daily managing company to make this happening. It's of course not something we make overnight. Again, it is a horizon of 4 years, as it was also last time. This horizon, of course, is also not fixed. A lot depends when we talk growth on what is the macroeconomic environment, and we hopefully see uncertainties going away quickly. I hope it's a situation like 2008 and 2009. We had also a phase of a lot of uncertainty, a lot of reluctance in the industry, and then fortunately it went away, and another very long period of growth was then available across the globe. So it is in this with this aspect, with this mindset, that we present such numbers, just to give you a feeling on what we are aiming for. So, last summary, we can really say we have a unique market position. This is the grounds for our midterm optimism. We have this wireless connectivity as centerpiece technology that is affecting many of the industries, and with the aim that things become connected and smart. We have a lot of new use cases, more volume on the industrial side, and more value and content in the automotive use case. That is making us to expand, and are finally immutable growth factors that are seen in this context. And together with what we have as a strength in the company, with all the knowledge, we can provide customer value that is unbeatable. We have by that extremely good customer loyalty. And of course, we continually must make sure we use this insight into what customers make to good benefit, to continually drive our product roadmap and help customers to go more quickly to market, because it's more simple to do. So with that, we close our presentation and we open again microphones for questions. Mr. Remmers. Yeah.
Yes, two questions from my side. One on R&D capitalization. You mentioned that you're working on 250 R&D projects, that you review them twice a year, and that you start capitalizing when they enter gate 2. I'm just wondering how often, when you review the process as the R&D projects, have you stopped certain research projects? Because I cannot imagine that you, from gate 2, that 250 all eventually will end up in a product. So that would be first question. And the second question would be on pricing. I mean, from a volume standpoint, it all looks very encouraging. I was wondering how much price pressure do you incur per year, and maybe you can give us an example on the cellular product category M, how that, for example, will evolve over the next 1 or 2 years.
Yes, thank you. So about how we manage R&D projects and how solid our pipeline is, and that we build accidents. We have, I think, a very good track record. If we had accidents, we would have to announce impairments. And so far we have done that once, because a supplier created a trouble and pulled back on a product or a chipset we were using. Otherwise, the good thing is, because all our R&D activity is so granular, so many different things we do, they are always useful pieces. And of course, we do adjust our roadmaps and our thinking and our composition of products over the time, but we are not losing anything. This is all knowledge that is available to us, that has somewhere a good use and is normally continually evolving. So this is the big advantage, that we have such a deep knowledge, and insofar are independent of suppliers, all we do here is continually adding to our capability. And insofar, I think the point is also, of course, we do impairment tests that we must also emphasize. We are obliged to do so and must, of course, come to our conclusions and strong insight that what we do also has an economic value. This is very important, that it, of course, forces us to continually see whether what we do is delivering a future cash flow. Now, the question about price pressure, of course, that's nothing new in electronics industry, components industry. Price pressure is around forever. The main reasons are that markets are highly price elastic. The lower the price, the higher the value. I mean, the factor is quite steep. Second, there are scale effects. I mean, everybody lives from scale effects and can turn or drive down the cost, and is of course speculating on this. This is why then these things come together. And finally, there's overcapacity in the industry that also, of course, does not help to keep prices up. The players all try to expand or better use the available capacities. But I mean, what we are doing, of course, we are creating ways out of this pressure, and we are making proposals to customers, values that other competitors cannot offer or have at least struggled to offer. We combine knowledge to solution packages that are unique, that are really a solution to a problem at the customer that is not easy to replace. The question is always, what's the next best alternative? I mean, then the customer, if he has a strong one, then the price pressure is high. If the next best alternative is not available or at least weak, then of course we can nicely held up the price. And this is it all about. It's finally a combination. We have certain products or customer relationships where we have price pressure. We have there's a too good alternative for the customer, and we have to follow the decline. We have other use cases, and of course there it's where we focus the most. We have solutions that are unique, that nobody else has, and of course that allows us to move up the price and garnish very good gross margins. And it's the combination of the two that finally makes our average. But so far, I think we were always able to nicely compensate where it was hard to make a good price with businesses where it was a good return. Please.
You showed us the category M ramp up. Can you maybe also talk a bit about the category 1 ramp if you're a bit behind there, if there's risk for impairment?
Of course, I cannot give you any details here, but you can be assured we have, it is quite nice to, when you make such analysis, that our products all have the same shape in going to market, amazingly similar.
Question about your development support services. Maybe we could take the example of the power tool producer that you mentioned, Mr. Schäfer. When you send your engineers there to develop a good solution, are you paid for that, and how do you make sure that this producer will not source the modules from anywhere else?
Markus, please.
Yeah, this is a very good question, of course. Are we paid for doing this? Well, when we are engaging with the customer, there's always, and we are kind of in a partnership approach, right? There's always something that is coming on top. We have been talking about services. You know, when you are in application, you see kind of additional use cases. And yes, we are going to monetize that more than probably we have done. We have also service tools today that allows us to get into the market quicker. You know, we don't charge or haven't charged for that. It has been one of the differentiation. We have a lot of customers using those, and they want more. So that is a chance, and you know, we have been talking about services. So customers come to us and want more, and yes, we can charge for that more. That was one part of your question, right? The first part was, you know, when, like with the tool vendor, they of course have a problem to solve. You know, their problem now is going to market and going there quickly, but also not having a failure, right? So here they look at options that they have in the market, and they came to the conclusion on how we go to market, how we handle it, how we support them, and they had good experience with us in the past. That's the way forward. So there's trust that we are building with the way how we go to market.
More questions?
Serge Rotzer, Credit Suisse. One question about guidance. If I'm not wrong, you have reduced the EBIT margin target compared to the EBITDA target, which remains flat. So this tells me that you have higher depreciation and amortization. And I'm wondering now why. Do you reflect any impairments going forward? Probably I don't think so. Secondly, does the value proposition of a product changed or from an industry? And if so, which product or in which industry are you more conservative? Or thirdly, is it a general de-risking of the balance sheet so that the amortization is becoming much more severe to the past? And if so, is this a own decision or is this decision coming from the auditor?
Yeah, okay, several questions here. Let's walk
Only
back.
one, but several answers.
Let's walk backwards. So, I mean, when we make a midterm guidance, of course, this is our vision and intent. There is no auditor involved in this. Auditors are looking backwards, not forward. And of course, we just do review our financial planning year on year, and we give you here an update, a next evaluation. And we all know making long-term plans is not easy. We try to best estimate what might be a structure of our financial numbers. And finally, yes, we have, of course, capitalized R&D that are impacting these numbers. This is also not so easy to look forward what amounts of amortizations are coming due, because it depends on the throughput times of projects. That can be shorter or longer with the many things we do. But insofar, it is our best knowledge we have today that we put here into the numbers.
Okay, but what has been the trigger? Why did you reduce EBIT margin? Must be a reason for it, no?
The reason is just more knowledge than what we had a year before, and simply this.
And where?
Excuse me?
And where do you increase your knowledge?
I mean, it's our general knowledge of where do we stand with the company. More I cannot say.
So should I talk something about the value proposition? It was the one of your question, right? Does the value change, right, from customer to customer? And that the answer is yes. It changes from customer to customer. It changes within an application. And that is actually where the deep understanding of the customer and the application is really key. You know, the e-scooter market, for instance, so there's a very strong increase in volumes, and there's a lot of competing companies out there. So a key value for them, for instance, is having the products available. So turnaround time is critical. And so we have companies coming to us that want to compete in the market, and they know about our supply chain, and they just want to have the product to get them out to market. Then there are other markets, obviously, where cost and price pressure is absolutely critical. I was talking about the tooling company. They again have a different need, and that I think is really, a key differentiator that we have by having the right people at the customer, right, and understanding what they need and being very flexible and aggressive also in addressing that value to the customer. And by that, you know, the value of a product is changing according to the value proposition of the customer.
Are there more questions? Good, this is simply not the case. Then thank you for your attendance. We are now invited to a lunch outside of this room, and we hope we can continue discussion in smaller circles. Thank you for coming, and we have, of course, then news again next year with our fiscal year summary that we provide in March. Thank you very much.